Iko Niko is a genius with spatial awareness that made use of this ability way before Isagi himself discovered he had it. Even though he put everything on the line and almost won, he was still bested by Isagi, and it was a slight difference in mentality that was the difference between the two of them. After scoring the winner, Isagi walks through the losing Team Y players, defeated and guaranteed to leave Blue Lock, sensing the looks of hatred and feelings of despair, and after taking a good look at the genius crying like a baby in front of him, Isagi thinks to himself, wow, that feels fucking great. Man, I love this manga. Sportsmanship is an aspiration of ethos that a sport or activity will be enjoyed for its own sake. This is with proper consideration for fairness, ethics, respect, and a sense of fellowship with one's competitors, but not necessarily in Blue Lock, where teamwork isn't even that important and is considered a weakness. The way most of us think about it, at least. The very first lesson in Blue Lock is the importance of ego and thinking of oneself as superior and the main person on the field at all times. A lesson that drives the rest of the story. The training regimen is built around it, and it is in fact the very core theme of the whole manga. So we have a sports manga that went completely against what its predecessors established. Not only that, but also made fun of it and preached controversial and insane ideas, yet it was met with astronomical success and loved by millions across the world somehow. To define a genre is to do something so good and so unique that the genre itself changes after that, whether it be a new trend of mimics or to inspire the next generation. But generally it means leaving a huge impact with something new, and I find it to be the perfect expression to describe Blue Lock. Not just sports manga, but shonen manga in general went through a very interesting change in the last 8 years. No new shonen manga felt similar to the old generations, and those that did never made it. The tropes were either twisted to something entirely else, or non-existent in the first place, starting with Demon Slayer and The Promised Neverland, which added much more gore than we were used to, followed by the Dark Trio, which if you have read any of them, you'd know that they are not what classic shonen comes to mind, with much darker and faster approaches than what we know. And fast forward to now, where protagonists in shonen aren't even shonen themselves, like Sakamoto Days and Monster No. 8, with adults as the main characters in those mangas. And then there is Blue Lock, which doesn't shy away from applying those changes either. And the reason why is simple. Blue Lock is a unique manga of our generation, and what I mean by that is that Blue Lock and what it does simply cannot have existed in a previous decade. The fast-paced style and the trend of less filtered and more honest writing that doesn't try to appeal to teenagers are only things that started to appear and appeal more to the public lately. And also the fact that the manga mainly even exists because Japan was disqualified from the World Cup in 2018. Blue Lock is an expression of frustration from a football fan who also happens to be a mangaka, but not just any ordinary mangaka. It's one with a previous and completed work under his belt, a manga that goes by the name Jagan. And just by looking at it, we can see the founding layers that establish the extreme and often wilder aspects of Blue Lock as we know it. Somehow, Kensuke Nishida, with the help of the talented Yusuke Nomura, was able to craft a thrilling, inspirational, and crazy manga that doesn't beat around the bush or try to sugarcoat any themes and ideals it explores. A manga that tries to express the unfiltered reality of competition and excellence. So let's take a look at what Blue Lock tries to accomplish with such taboo ideals and extreme lessons. First off, let's talk in a broad general term about excellence, about excelling in one's domain and becoming the best at what they do, which is essentially what Blue Lock is all about. Blue Lock the manga shows us what Blue Lock the project shows the characters stuck in it. It's basically a formula for success that's filled with means of physical and mental growth, psychological challenges, and a very competitive environment for all of this to happen. It's essentially a way to accelerate growth in the players, supplemented with rants and speeches about different phenomena and philosophies related to the sport. In each arc of Blue Lock, there is a general lesson to be learned, not one that can just be said. Every trial and challenge symbolizes something. The first phase reconstructed football in the minds of the players to start from zero, essentially ridding them of the corrupted understanding that ego think they have up to that point of their lives. They learned about themselves, their strengths and how to use them to their advantages, leading up to them relying on each other and learning to work with one another. Unlike the second selection where they learned to use one another in order to score and achieve their goals, where they understood that individuality is the basis of everything. You either grow rapidly or stay behind. As sad as that is, this is the reality they are in. Tasted inevitable defeat, went through trials that selected the special ones and forced them into positions different to what they believed they were destined to. Fast forward to the Neo-Egoist League, where the sheltered babies learned about the world, where they left their cages and arrived at the big stage. The ongoing Neo-Egoist League is my favorite part of Blue Lock so far. Aside from the excitement and hype that comes from the huge scale that came with it, the genius ways the author translates advanced performance tactics through the character's development in different ways, through the different coaches and countries' ways that they were divided into. He built up characters from the ground up and made them very different, in not just playstyle but also personalities, philosophies, and even down to their ego and how it reflects their ambitions and motives. Lavinio and Noah, for example, are extremely different. While Noah is the logical and sensible person who approaches things with rationality and dedication, Lavinio is the opposite. He is the free, crazy spirit who teaches the fun way that expresses himself more. He is free and flexible. Chris Prince, on the other hand, is a more balanced mix of the two, who preaches about ideals and shows the players how to become an asset that can accomplish their ideal selves through priming themselves physically in different ways that shape them to become a dangerous version. And I think he is so far the better coach, simply because his way is more consistent and applicable than the other two. But maybe Mark Snuffy is going to take that place. He is the extremely tactical and calculated one, a strategy genius that tells his players that football is a job and that they should see it that way. So they better think of their life outside of it to be able to become better, which is simply genius, work-life balance with an emphasis on simplifying one's job into priorities and delicate systems that run smoothly because of the cogs and the different assignments they have. I really like him so far, especially because he is coaching Barrow, who is my favorite character, but also because I relate to his teaching more than the others. If I was in Blue Lock, I would have chose him and Italy to train with. The different ways these pros work and the chemistry they have with their players is so much fun to read, but also a brilliant showcase of the variety and differences we as humans have. That no one way is truly the best, and to break those barriers and become the true number one, well, you have to be Noel Noah. Not because of his way of coaching, but in his general way of thinking. He is the type of guy who wakes up in the morning and every action that follows that is dedicated towards making him a better version of himself. And that's what made him the best in the world. Recently, I have read The Inner Game of Tennis, which is a book written by Timothy Galway, who is an author who has a series of books in which he has set forth a methodology for coaching and for the development of personal and professional excellence in a variety of fields that he calls the inner game. And trust me, this book is not about tennis at all. In fact, I've never really played tennis myself, and I have a very basic understanding to its world. But this book is my best read of 2023 so far. It opened my eyes to new ways of learning, adapting, and applying new things to my life. From the different sports that I practice, the creative hobbies, and anything in between that requires skill, hard work, and growth, this book helped me in that more than anything I've ever read before. And if you are someone who has something that they want to become better at and aim to be the best at, I highly recommend you check it out. And I am saying this in a Blue Lock video because this book felt like a realistic set of notes written by Jinpachi Ego himself, who, just like Galway, dedicated his life to performance analysis and coaching in all manners of ways that the professionals go through, a roadmap for mental success that will teach you about your inner self and how to conquer limiting beliefs in a more realistic way. Unlike those cringe and stupid useless self-help books that are all somehow bestsellers at New York Times, this book is a gem and I love it. My relationship with Blue Lock changes every year, and it's always more and more positive. I would not be lying like 90% of YouTube videos when I say this manga truly changed me, but that's just how generally powerful its impact would be if you take a deeper look and think about it as more than just a fun hype shonen manga. I truly believe if most of us Blue Lock fans stopped calling everyone Isagi's dogs and arguing on who is the best striker when it's clearly obvious even to blind people that it's Baro. But seriously, any old viewer of this channel knows that I like to highlight something useful from any analysis or essay I do that the viewer leaves with. Last time I talked about Blue Lock 5 months ago, I focused on Japan's team and on the 2 best football players ever and what their egos are. Even 2 years ago, when I first talked about Blue Lock and explored ego in depth and drew comparisons from Ryan Holiday's ego is the enemy, I felt personally rewarded every time. And that just made me realize I'm definitely not the only one who feels this type of way about a specific fictional work. And that's why I make these videos in the first place. So if you feel the same and want to see more, subscribe if you haven't. And like always, catch you on the next one. And many thanks for watching.